Okay, this is a demo on our sliding compound miter saw. So this saw is really quite cool, but it's pretty dangerous if you don't know how to use it properly. So you'll have safety training for all the saws that we use, and these are really just introductory videos. But in class, we'll do a live video or live demo, and then you also have safety quiz and supervision on the saw your first time through. So this saw here is sliding. So this one has a little lever right here that then allows it to slide. And I'm gonna pop that back so it doesn't. It's easier to use when it's not sliding, but if you have really long material, you can slide and cut through it. This pin right here, if we push down on the saw and we pull this pin out, it allows the head to raise up. So now we can actually use the saw. This guard protects the blade and protects you. And then this is our fence and our table. No hands inside of this area. That's your 6-inch safety zone. To adjust the saw, we can turn it on an angle. So I have this lever right here that I have to turn to the left, and a lever underneath I have to pull up, and then I can move it. And I'm reading the long edge of this red arrow to see what degree I'm at. So at 0 degrees, I'm perpendicular to the fence. If I want to go to, let's say, 22.5 degrees, you can see it has this little symbol underneath it. That means it's going to auto snap. So it just snapped in there. If I wanted to go to any one that was other than that, let's say like 20 degrees, I have to tighten this guy right here to pinch that in so it doesn't move on me accidentally. If it doesn't auto snap, this little red trigger below has engaged. So it's engaged right here at 22.5. I'm going to go back to 0. Now you might say, why 22.5? Well, it's a common measurement because it's actually half of 45. There's 90, 45, 22.5. Those are all very common. There's other ones that are common too, and it's to make other geometric shapes. So like an octagon or for roof pitches. Speaking of roof pitches, we also see that up here. So like 212, 412, 612, 812, 1012. All of those are different angles for roof rafters, which we can talk about later. So I'm going to get this back to 0. This is what we typically have it set up at. It's going to lock here, and I'm also going to lock the turning knob. So that way it's double locked at 0, so we're pretty good. And then the other thing to just double check before we make a cut is that the angle of the head is perpendicular to the table, and it is right now. With our speed square, we can check that. If that wasn't, this arrow right here is able to tell us if the blade is tipping at all. So this saw is kind of cool because it can cut 2 different angles at once. So it's a compound angle, which is 2 angles or more. So I'm going to go and make a cut here. And with this saw, we really just need to mark one spot on our piece to make our cut. And what I see here is that right now I have to raise this extension up. So I'm going to loosen this one up, and I'm going to raise this up underneath our framing material so that way it becomes one flat surface. And then I'm going to use my other hand and tighten that up. So now this is nice and flat. I'm going to go and make a measurement. So let's see where we're at right now. So we're right around 36. I'm going to go and turn this into let's say a 34-inch board. So in order to do that, I'm just going to grab a pencil. And I'm going to leave the same amount of space here at the bottom, pretty much all the way across. And at 34, I'm going to make a little line. I'm going to put a check mark on the waist side of that line. Now, if I go and pull this saw down, I might not be able to tell where I'm at. So what you could do is 2 different things. One is you take your speed square, put your pencil on the line, bump it to your pencil, give yourself an extension of that line. Now we should be able to see it. Or we also have a larger speed square that you can go and draw that line all the way across your material. So now that I have that line drawn, I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to put it in position. I'm going to undo this guard because this material is a little bit extra long. And I'm going to go and check where my saw lines up with that material. Notice the material, when I'm checking this, is tight against this fence, and it's flat against the table, and I can see that the teeth are going to be just on the waist side of that line. If I need to make a little adjustment, I just do a little wiggle. Now, same thing with the circular saw as this miter saw. I want to start this saw at the very top. When I go down to make my cut, I'm going to go straight down from the front end, and then I'm going to cut my way towards the back end. It's most safe that way. The blade spins in this direction, and if I cut towards the back and then towards the front, it wants to act like tires on the road and carry it forward. So I'm going to bring it forward first and cut back, and that gives me the most amount of control. I'm going to move things away that are at my feet so that way I don't step on them or get unbalanced. I'm going to bring the saw all the way forward. I'm going to turn on at the top. There's this little safety button right here, and then the trigger. I'm going to turn that on. I'm going to go all the way down, and then I'm going to bring it back. The whole time keeping pressure with my left hand 6 inches away, keeping pressure against the table and the fence. Once I went all the way down and then all the way back to make the cut, and I left my pencil line on there so that way I could see that I made the cut accurately. This becomes waste, so what we like to do is keep the garbage can right near that miter saw if we have a bunch of cuts to make, so that way we don't have a pile of scraps that people might trip on as well. And so good practices would be to mark this board at the length that I cut it at.